Hello, and welcome to Depth Perception. We discuss movies and dive into how films direct the way we experience them. We create a perception of sound, a perception of sight, with a dimension of mind. We move into a land of both shadow and substance, of themes and ideas. Boy, that bass does come in pretty deep right now.
Oh, gosh.
Real deep.
Well, the ladies are going to love this episode.
It's getting spooky around here. This is Mr. Vozly, and to my right I have Christoph Maximum.
It's good to be here on this spooky season. I can't believe it's upon us.
Yeah.
Like right upon us.
At the time recording it is Halloween tomorrow. It's All Hallows Eve.
And it is. And I can't believe that I'm sitting next to Chef. I'm an idiot.
I was like, Chef. I was like, Chef. There's my Shaq voice. Hey, Chuck.
What else, Chuck? I can't do
What
it
else,
like
Chuck?
you.
This episode is brought to you by 2022's Talk to Me. Talk to Me is about some Utes that find a way to conjure spirits through an embalmed hand, and some haunting consequences follow. How do you feel about this one, KMax?
Well, in general, I steer away from this, not this exact type of movie, but this type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is this close to reality. And I think that's what good horror is, though, by the way, too. Something that's pretty close to reality that might happen, that could maybe you could picture happening. That's what makes it all the more good horror, I think. That said, anything with, like, in the spiritual world like that, spiritual plane, and some eating Smarties, pardon me, or Skittles, where there's like a transfer from, natural state, and then you activate something, you touch something, or there's some kind of a, it's a fancy word I want to use, but just an item, not a port key or anything like that, but like a talisman that possesses you or channels something. And I think, in my experience, I've just chosen to steer clear of even art that presents that. And
same, not fear, but that same feeling, I feel like, is with like Ouija boards. It's like, I'm not even gonna. I don't even want to venture the idea.
I honestly think that's 100% true with me, and it's been a code type thing for me. Only because I never want any of my students, or certainly my kids, to think, like Dad watched this movie, so yeah, it must be okay. It must somehow like it must be okay. And the same reason, like even in the shop, when I have like the bottles of alcohol and stuff like in the shop, almost to make it look nostalgic and old school barbershop, I worry about the influence that might have on my kids too. Yet I still have it up there, right? So, tossing a little bit of reason and common sense that, of course, I don't endorse this,
Right.
But so the whole time watching it, there was a little bit of that. And then we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the reasons why it became easier to watch for me. Because the focus wasn't on that, it was on other things.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I started really enjoying it. And so yeah, I hope listeners that give it a watch feel that way too.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it with you, all the previews, and it makes it feel worse than it actually is, I feel like. I know you walked in and I had the Blu-ray on, and it was the title menu, and your face, you're just staring at the screen.
Yes.
Like, how do I get out of this?
That was, well, I call it the Skinny Marink effect. I just think to myself, how do I get out of this assignment? How do I maintain my friendship? How do I maintain the integrity of the show?
So was this movie spooky enough for you?
It was. You know what's funny is, as much as I would steer clear of this type of spooky movie. It's far from the kind of spooky movie that really creeps me out, I guess. I think the kind of spooky movies that really get me out, like a little more psychological too, that get me and kind of get under my skin and make me question, yikes, is this kind of thing or creature or entity really out there? You know, and then also, but there were a couple scenes that did a good job of the spooky.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk about this one. I'm always excited to talk on this podcast. For this episode, I'm doing something slightly different here. In the spirit of emphasizing the personal nature of grief, what I'm going to do is present some talking points, and we're going to actually take turns picking which topics we dive into. So it's going to be the topics that you're most drawn to, that you want to dive into the most. Now, I let you know ahead of time the pool of topics that we have, but I do not know what you have chosen. So I'm going to list them off, and we'll take turns choosing which topics to talk about. Two each.
So I also don't know what I've chosen.
So it'll be 2 topics each, one at a time, and there's going to be 6 total that I list. So we are going to be missing out on 2 of them. All right. How do we see grief in this movie? The kangaroo. Using a single word to explain the theme of grief from this movie. Cinematic tools that make us feel the way we do. A scene perception. Fear or sadness. What struck us more and why?
Oh my goodness.
So before we dive into your first pick, I still want to make sure that we talk about our initial reactions from seeing this movie. We talked briefly after watching it together the other night, but I'd like to get your thoughts from that night, and then as has been sitting in your brain for a few days. What do you got?
I like the idea that we have a couple days to let it roll around a little bit in the old noggin. And with horror, for me, sometimes it takes a little while because my defenses are up so strong to protect my brain and protect my sanity and say, this is, this is fiction, this is fiction, this is fiction, and keep it at a good arm's length. But then after a couple of days, I can think about it, and my guard comes down a little bit more, and then I can actually process and take in a little bit more of what was going on. Unfortunately, sometimes there's things that are lost because my defenses were up. I mean, when you're peeking through your third and fourth finger watching it with one eye, that doesn't help. Again, going in there with my defenses high wasn't helpful to the cause. But being someone who is, I try to put the work in to present a decent product here on the show. So I had that, and so I was able to take a lot in. I was scared, but I found myself with a different kind of fear rather than fear for myself and for what's happening around me. Whenever I see young people, I guess it's just the age of my children are. Whenever I see young people engaging in, they could have been texting and driving on this. It would have made me go home with a pit in my stomach saying, "Oh, I hope my kids don't text and drive."
Right.
This one right here, seeing the kind of people that are out there, the characters reflected. There's all kind of people out there at UB and Niagara Wheatfield and other places. Those are young people, and the reason why those archetypes work and stereotypes work is because they're commonly seen.
Right.
And so, having said that, I always think to myself, it makes me worry about what kind of people are making decisions out there that might influence my children or my students at school. And some of the things that took place, I was like, oh. And then, things that young people, that human beings justify and think they're right. And then you get a group of other people that justify it. You get enough people justifying it, you'll do just about anything. And that's how some of the scenes played out in this movie. That scared me more than the actual terror, the hand and the powers of the hand and the possession stuff.
Yeah.
The way that peer pressure and influence worked as a really super strong force for some really awful things.
Well, the way that they showcase this hand and the parties and stuff, I mean, very easy connection with like peer pressure into drinking or smoking or any other drugs.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they took hits of this hand.
Yeah.
Like, oh, another shot.
And they watch how it affects them. Oh, and they're all got their phones out. That's another thing that made me kind of turn my stomach a little bit, was just how readily available and how easy it is for people to turn. And your friends, when you're making a butt out of yourself, I was going to say a horse out of yourself, there they all are with their cameras on.
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting to report so that I can be the one. I want everybody to see, oh, man, you got so wasted. Or I'm like, I'm going to look at, you want to see this video? That's the most terrifying thing, again, as a dad, that my kids could make a decision and all of a sudden now they're on the video doing something they would never do ordinarily. Seeing this, even like the opening scene right there, hit me. And what a good way to start it, though, to put you at disease when the guy's in the room and the one guy comes and get him and, what you guys doing? And then he's walking up because the guy's freaking out a little bit. And they all have their cameras on. They all wanted to catch the moment. And he's just so angry at them, screaming and hollering at them. I didn't know that I was being led that way by the filmmakers to feel that anger toward the people taping for later on in the movie. Mm-hmm. And again, thinking about it later, would I watch it again? No, I wouldn't watch it again. It's not my cup of tea. I still hold fast to when I can avoid it or steer around these kind of movies, I will. But I think after a couple of days, I'm able to take more out of it. Like a couple of the topics we're going to hit on, I think we'll see that I might be wrong, but all I have is my own lenses, right?
Right.
But I was able to actually not be so defensive because I'm protecting my sanity, right? Mm-hmm. And protecting my well-being and my non-scaredy-catedness. That's a word. Look it up.
So I got this movie on Blu-ray when it first came out. And I remember I appreciated it so much, but I'm aware of that feeling that you have of like, I don't know if I want to watch this. Because even at, I think my days at Syracuse and like the computer art program, I was exposed to a lot of types of videos and movies and media and art, and so a lot of this stuff can be very tough to watch. So I remember having that feeling of, well, I don't want my threshold to be
there it is,
way out there.
Yeah,
I still want to have my threshold here. But I've been able to appreciate things from a distance in that regard, I guess. So Talk to Me was kind of like, I'm not fully on board with certain things if that's how you're going to present them, but I had this feeling about this movie that it wasn't about that. And because of the subject matter in the movie, I've actually only seen it once before we watched it. And it's been like one of those movies and experiences that I've been waiting to share it with someone.
Yeah.
You might recall Mother in season 1.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, it's a tough watch, I know, but if someone could just join me on this so we can talk about it, I think it'd be good conversation.
Strangely enough, probably the most feedback we've gotten on an episode was Mother, and the feedback was almost unanimously, finally a forum that's talking about this movie after, 6-7 years?
Right. So, yeah, I've been patiently waiting for someone to share these thoughts and talk about a really difficult subject to address. As for my first time watching, I think I watched it by myself late at night, as I usually do, and I felt very aware of the theming and empathized with our characters because of it. Especially in horror, it can be tough to create characters that an audience can can feel what they feel outside of just fear. So this movie for me, it wasn't fear. It was rooted in sorrow and vulnerability. And that's what made the dread in the movie, that movie watching experience just so effective for me. And also the lasting echo of the theming, so effective. This time around, it was me and you watched it at night in the dark. I felt like there were definite moments I gained some more perspective about some of the things that was showing us. Some thematic questions I had that took additional perspective to interpret some things. Questions about the kangaroo symbolism, deeper emotions and thoughts, and a different spin on the message of the movie seemed to come around this time viewing. So KMax, you got the topics?
I do.
Let me hear your first one that you want to discuss.
I'm going to go right from the top here. Vaz, and I'm going to ask you to go first because I'm a big giant coward, and I won't say who's going first. This is kind of your show. How do we see grief in this movie? Let's start right from there, right from the word go.
All right, and you want me to?
I would like for you to,
this one off?
like, how do you see grief in this movie? I have almost like a very clinical explanation for mine, but I want to hear yours.
Okay, so I'll start with a little something. I'll hear your thing, and then we'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Sounds
I guess.
good. I like it.
So I feel like I could just describe what I see when we talk about grief in Talk to Me. But to me, it's this longing for connection portrayed like a drug to get high. And I'm just going to list off these feelings that, these hip fire reactions of feelings of, if you ask me how I see grief in this movie.
Yeah.
So longing for connection, disregard for loved ones' attempts to help, escapism, and when I say disregard for loved ones' attempt to help, it's also like a berserker of pain. We talked about like in The Dark Knight a couple episodes ago, or even Babadook in Hereditary. So it's like you just hurt those around you, and you can't really help it. It's just you're involuntarily lashing out, and it's hurting these people around you. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. They kind of. I was looking for those in the movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just. You remember in the Friends episode, Monica's going over the zones. She's like 1, 2.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, 4, 5. She keeps going back.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6.
7. I felt like that was listing off the levels of depression because she was all over the place. It was like 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4. But we never heard 5. I feel like.
Right. She skipped 5.
But I felt like Mia was caught in a vicious cycle and sporadically experiences the different stages, it seems. So we see denial, we see bargaining, and depression on several occasions with Mia. And like I said, I feel like she never reaches the final, the acceptance. I want to hear what you have to say then before I say more.
I think, so it's like, how do we see grief in this movie? I see it more like, when you talked about like the addiction type thing, I thought about like the destructive ways that folks try to deal with grief. Like the destructive ways, like very self-destructive ways that folks try to deal with grief. And you can see it from a mile away in like not just the art here, but in real life. You see people turning to things, and it's easy to draw parallels from this movie. Like the addictions, like she did it, and she just couldn't wait to do it again. And I don't think that the metaphor and the symbolism was lost of tying the belt around them real tight, like tying a tourniquet on an arm when you're doing heroin or something. That's what I felt like when they're doing it. Like you have this master of who's...
Well, the candle too, like, you have the spoon of...
Yeah, you're going to cook
whatever.
in your works and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, it felt very much like a heroin, like an opium den type setting. They're around a circle and all right, you're going to take a hit here, more or less. And so when that belt was around him, it's got to be tied tight. He's almost, I mean, being a social worker for almost a decade before teaching, those are things you hear when I was working at the community house in New York City and places about. That's what you hear in those drug houses. Mm-hmm. You hear the way that they were talking to each other and the kind of camaraderie almost like this. We're all in it together. And like I said earlier,
some of the things too, like the dilated pupils even, stuff like that, where all these connotations and reactions from drug use, you see it right along with these scenes.
Like seizing and like what I mean, things like on involuntary movements, spasms and things. It's like dropping certain kind of drugs, the PCP and things like that. And so the destructive ways folks cope with grief, like addiction. That's the first one where she did it, she got a hit, and she had to do it again. All she thought it was the next hit, and wanting other people to try it. You got to try this. Became like. It's almost like addicting, like they became the agents of brokering it. And I wonder if the folks got money for it. The two that brought the I kept thinking about that. What do they gain in this? What do they gain from this? Being popular?
I don't doubt it. I mean...
Yeah. I mean, it looked like they were almost like catering to a party or a DJ or they're going to bring that. Oh, yeah, we brought it,
And going along with that, how it's portrayed like a drug. When it came to Riley trying it, they're like, oh, he's just a kid.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh, we don't want to, we have boundaries here and you're too young to try this hard stuff.
Yeah, you can't do this. And then they justified it again and rationalized it by, we'll let you do a little hit. We'll let you do a little bit. And how reckless though and how gross it was that I felt so bad for the big sister. What was her name? So you had was it Mia? Mia was
the main one.
The main one. But the girl with the curly hair, the little Riley's sister, was I felt bad for her in many instances because it seemed like she was a typical teen, but she was trying to do right very often.
Right.
And you could see she had her typical teen angst toward her mother, but you could tell she respected her mother. We don't know what's going on in that situation, but we can see that they're not whole. Right, they're not a what is the word I'm looking for? Like a full nuclear family.
Right.
They're kind of a bit of a broken home in some way, shape, or form.
I feel like I heard something like they referenced the dad in some respect, but I can't remember. Jade, by the way.
Yeah, okay, that's her. That's right. I felt bad for her very often because she's trying to do right, and then these people.
And I feel like she wasn't like actively trying to say what's right. It's just like, I'm just living here. Like, why are you guys making such bad decisions around me?
Yeah,
kind of felt like that.
I mean, she wanted the company. I think she wanted the company, and then it became don't have a party. Another one is like addiction, and then also like self-destruction. Mm-hmm. Like they know what's happening, and you see it happening. They seem like they all have examples of it. They've watched these videos of these people, but that's the thing that scared me as a parent and as a teacher, is seeing how sometimes that dynamic can run like wildfire, like something you're like, no, you wouldn't do that. No, you definitely shouldn't do that. Like maybe vaping or maybe energy drinks even or things like that. A lot of things.
Well, I think that's because in the. We'll take those two examples, like, oh, vaping, you don't know what's in it, and, this could happen here to young lungs, and, oh, the energy drinks, kids shouldn't have it because of heart problems that are going to happen. And I feel like with the hand, it's no different. Like, oh, don't hold it past 90 seconds or else they'll stay.
Yeah.
Like, basically, they'll possess you or you'll be haunted by these things if you stay longer than 90 seconds. And it's just like such carefree, like, okay, all right, 90 seconds, take me off at then.
Yeah, make sure you get me out of there at 90.
And that feels like the same thing. Like, well, one energy drink won't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, that didn't hurt at all. I could probably handle another one,
That's it. And then, I got like two more, like under the destructive ways folks cope with grief that I saw in the movie. Another one was isolation. And again, this is just grief 101 and destructive habits 101. Like when Mia just seemed like the movie showed her more and more being forced to be isolated. People who didn't engage in the addiction or the grief, the way she was coping with it, kept her at arm's length. The mom saying, "Get out of here." You know, she felt bad later because she's like, "Oh, there was no drugs in the system," but she didn't know how right she was by saying, "Get out of here." You got my kiddo engaged in this thing. And what a disturbing scene to when someone's hurting themselves like that, just like looking and bam and hitting himself on the table. Reminded me of Paranormal Activity when was it Paranormal Activity maybe? When the neck slice looking into the camera, seeing that, and that was the most cringy moment of that whole movie, was seeing that, like the smile and the you know, like it's not the person operating and they're going to hurt this person, you know, it's like wow. So self-destruction, the isolation, like Mia, and how all those things kind of led, and I might be using the term wrong or even loosely, like Mia down a path of almost like generational trauma. Like we wonder how her mom got to where she was, where she made decisions that she made to take her life, right? And Mia's seemed to be going down that path. And what's scary and sad equally is that she doesn't look like she can help it. It looks like she's just spiraling and going down a whirlpool that she can't help. She seems like a pretty good kid at her core. She seems to care a great deal about Riley and the other young lady, and her ex-boyfriend. You know, she seems to care about him, and even she seems to be respectful of the mom, of Riley's mom. And just hurt so bad when she gets put at arm's length. So there's a lot of things that she seems to want to do right, but her grief for her lost mother, and some might even say, like, you know, lost innocence could be just as hard to deal with. Her grief not being dealt with the right way is pulling her into a path similar to her mom's. So that way, I think can lead to handling grief the wrong way. Can lead to generational trauma where you repeat things of family members of the generation before.
See Coco.
Yeah, right.
I think it's interesting the trend with some of these movies about characters dealing with grief, that they're trying to relive the past or bring someone back as a way to, you dip your toes in the grief and you're trying to backtrack, you like quickly get over it, and but it's never the same though. So Pet Sematary,
yeah, that's the first one that came to mind right there.
Talk to Me, and then even Frankenstein. Though the specific one, I don't know how different it is to the book or the literature, but when the creature. He tells Frankenstein to make him a partner, and he kills Frankenstein's fiance or whatever she is, right? And then Frankenstein tries to reanimate the girl.
Yeah.
So like that, almost just like Pet Sematary, right? Like, if I do it sooner, it'll be better this time.
Finding a way to rationalize it, that I just got to change it a little bit.
Yeah, and trying to hold on for dear life to what was there to try and bring it back instead of realizing that it's not the same. So do you see that in Talk to Me also with, I contacted with my mom. Like my mom's, she's there. If I do this, if I do that, I can see her again. So I thought a pretty interesting trend that more than a couple movies have that idea with people in grief, that they try to dive back into the past and relive what can't be relived.
Oh, it's heavy stuff, honestly.
Anything else to add to how grief is shown in Talk to Me?
Well, I like not only how it's shown, but like how it kind of takes over, how it kind of cancels out a lot of fear. Because it's not as sexy to say, let's go watch a grief movie. rather than let's go watch a terrifying movie. But this is very much a movie about grief. Fear and terror are just a vehicle. To me, you know, watching this, it's a grief movie. There's people grieving all over the place, and I mean, the hand seems like. I mean, I think it might be into other part of my notes here. The hand seems like it's just a tool or a catalyst for how they're one way that you can handle this grief, perhaps. But like, yeah, gosh, I forgot her name. The other girl, the big sister,
Jade,
like second guessing herself and her relationship with her boyfriend, like because Mia's the ex, and yet they're best friends, and they all kind of like. She has like that grief, the different kind of grief, right? Like then someone's giving you grief, someone's making your life hard, someone is just like a fly in the ointment.
Yeah, here's some adversity.
Yeah, and then just like seemingly, and yet it's so hard because it's someone that she's close to, someone that she loves. She loves her friend Mia, but she's giving her grief on seemingly every level.
Yeah. When she's with her, she's giving her grief. When she leaves her, she's giving her grief.
Making it difficult dynamic between her and her mother.
Between her and Riley, between her and her boyfriend.
Gosh, I mean, just totally creating like an ultimate grief, you know.
Like I don't want to dive too far into another subject in case that's one you pick, but you know, I mentioned the lashing out, like the involuntarily hurting the people around you, like not realizing how much of a danger you are, and you're like a porcupine walking through a room of people. You know, you don't realize how much you could hurt people just by walking next to them. You know, so I'm gonna pick my first topic.
Oh dear! All right, let me see if we can symbolize. If only we could symbolize that somehow.
Well, KMax, can you guess what my topic's going to be?
Yeah, I do. I already know what it's going to be because it's the one I'm least prepared for.
What is it?
Kangaroo.
The Kangaroo.
Is it?
Yeah.
Of course it is. I'm not going to say I'm least prepared. I'm prepared for it, but not.
This is the one that I feel like I thought out the most.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take it from here, and you let me know.
Please do.
If things make sense, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns.
I can't be more thankful to handle it just like we're doing it right now. All right, let's have it.
When I first saw this movie, I was drawn to this kangaroo because I gravitate to symbolism and metaphors in movies. I don't know if you could tell.
I got a mug that says it.
My first time through, I had a perception of it, but I thought it too flimsy, too on the surface for the levels of emotion shown in the movie. So this wounded kangaroo is introduced early on when Mia picks up Riley and they're driving home, singing. And it's injured in the middle of the road. And they stop and get out, and Riley encourages Mia to put it out of its misery. But she can't. And they continue driving, and she has this guilt that she could not end this thing's suffering. The kangaroo makes a small reappearance towards the end of the movie. Like, you can't, I mean, obviously it's got to be a vision, right? Or whatever, in the hospital, limping around. So on first impressions, this kangaroo seems like foreshadowing for the story. Hurting, inability to recover, in need of someone to step up and end the suffering for the better. And when the kangaroo shows up again in the hospital, it seems like it's a reminder for Mia to get the strength to do what is needed for Riley. So, KMax, so far, is this kind of how you saw it as well?
Well, I'm being more of a surface guy. I thought foreshadowing right from the word go, right? Like the suffering and like mirroring Mia's, like foreshadowing the suffering to come and not being able to resolve it. Like, and almost having the grief of saying, I should have done something. I didn't even call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now this kangaroo has had me thinking periodically ever since I saw this movie. This idea of the kangaroo that I just laid out seems too shallow for the depths of the level of grief the movie depicts. There came a moment in the movie when we watched it that the light bulb went off for me, and I had a new perception that permeated through the entire story, and even our conversation for season 3 so far. So you ready, KMax?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. When they first come across the kangaroo, Riley asks, and I might be paraphrasing, but I think this is what he asks, aren't you going to put it out of its misery? And this little line right here is significant because it demonstrates the lens of our characters and probably our audience that when something is hurt so bad, the only sensible option is death. Not rehabilitation, not recovery, not help, but death. Now I'll remind you that the spirits are attempting to convince Mia to kill Riley. These horrible, deceitful, gross spirits trying to completely consume Riley through death and destruction. The entity, or whatever it is, in Riley also tries at any waking moment to bash their own head in. So death of their host seems to be their only goal. Now Mia is convinced that death is the only way to save Riley. Then it's the only way to save herself, both when she thinks she's attacked by her dad and again at the very end when she is hit by the car. Her mom, also, the only option that she can see is suicide. So, okay, now you ready for real? I'm going to give you my one sentence.
I'm ready for it because I'm connecting dots here, and I'm
Okay.
curious. I'm so curious, Rose.
Our perception of what to do with the kangaroo becomes the meaning.
Oh dear.
So no, Mia didn't put the animal out of its misery, but she also didn't help it, or even try to contact anyone that could help it. Even at the end, we get the sense that Mia sees the kangaroo, and her reaction is that she was reminded how she failed to put it out of its misery, and must get the strength to follow through this time with Riley. Because why? Because when something is hurt so bad, we think we must end the suffering through death. But what if I said there was another option? To rehabilitate, to see that even in your hallucinatory, surreal state, this kangaroo is now walking, improving since the last time that we saw it. When the group tracked down Duckett's brother to see how Riley can recover, he even says they usually come back on their own. But we choose, and the characters choose, not to listen to that answer.
Yeah.
Mia and us, we fail to see that the pain, the suffering, the grief can be endured. We see at the very end, Riley regained consciousness after she was hit and she's in the hospital. You can see in the background Riley sitting up and like talking with the family. So he didn't have to be put down as the spirits convinced Mia to attempt. So she can't see, sometimes we can't see, that we can endure and that we can be helped. So what do you think of that so far?
It makes perfect sense. I'll say I had a hard time seeing it as the cinema unfolded. Mm-hmm. It was a lot to unravel as it was happening on the film. I felt like I was confused a lot. I felt like there were distractions that kept me from seeing a clear picture of what was happening in front of me. I felt like I still didn't, as it wrapped up, I'm like, okay, what did I just see just now? And even after the gift of time, and I won't watch it again, but like I was going to say, I think after a further review, I'd probably be able to pull more out and see more of those parallels. But it feels delicious to be able to say, oh, that's what was happening.
That's at least my perception of it. Because I kept thinking, like, why? It seems too simple, like, to put this hurt kangaroo and her inability to put it out of its misery. But then I thought, why do we have to put it out of its misery? Like, when she comes across it in the road, her thoughts are leave it alone or kill it. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't. even put it off the road so it doesn't get run over again. You can't
Yeah.
even call, the local police and say, hey, there's a hurt kangaroo in the middle of the road. So I thought that was pretty, like I said, it was like a light bulb went off. I had mentioned it seemed to permeate through our discussion so far this season, kind of our thoughts on grief in general. So adversity, remember during that episode, we talked about adversity versus mental health and personal thresholds for grief, facing the pain, coping versus complacency. So far, that view of the kangaroo seems to be pretty encompassing on our thoughts on that, the boundary between mental health and adversity so far. Any other thoughts on the kangaroo?
I thought it's funny, and one more thing that I had down here was, when I saw the kangaroo, like toward the end, as things are kind of spiraling, as her heads and her thoughts are kind of spiraling, I thought it was almost like saying that it was almost like the spirits trying to tell Riley, not Riley, but Mia, there's a sacrifice that has to be made. And it felt like she was thinking, that's why that was a little bit compelling, that last scene, because I wasn't sure if she was going to push the wheelchair into traffic. That's what I thought was going to happen.
I think that was the goal.
Yeah, and then, but I think that when she saw the kangaroo, again, like not just the first time, but like in her, again, when movies, sometimes they get really good at flipping back to what's real and what's not real. It loses me a little bit, and that's my own flaw, I guess. It might be able to consume the product, but it lost me there. But I thought to myself, it was like, okay, there's a sacrifice that has to be made, but I just didn't know if it was pushing her to sacrifice Riley, to save Riley. I still didn't know if that was what was happening here. Like, I know what I got to do now. And it wasn't made clear until we see that she's the one who's hit.
To me, it felt like her goal was to push Riley to finish what the spirits were telling her to do. But she, in the moment, was overwhelmed with this idea of following through. And instead, because of being so overwhelmed, threw herself into the traffic. But that's just the way I perceived it anyway, because it was shot in a way that you can interpret it.
Even the way she got up after, you're like, she's not alive, and after she got up afterward.
Oh, right.
And I was like, that's always, that was the most horrifying part, was kind of like the falling action, was terror, pure terror, because the idea of, wait, Dad, wait.
Oh, right.
And the lights are slowly turning off,
yeah.
and Riley's leaving the hospital with the family, and the ambulance is driving off now, and it just seems like everybody, and there's a darkness there that is tapped into that I think mimics reality of folks that explain, again, I don't know if I've ever told you this story. It's probably a good time as any for it. I was getting my wisdom teeth out when I was in high school. I think it was probably 18, 17. And I was getting the gas to go under. And I had apparently taken too much of the gas.
Oh, boy.
Because as they're taking it out, it makes you indifferent to the pain. And helps you dim the pain. And I don't think it's supposed to knock you unconscious. Well, I started feeling some of the pressure of the pain, and it was freaking me out. So they had the nose piece for the gas. And so I just remember going, and the next thing I realized, I heard, and this is not hyperbole, because I'm given to hyperbole. I could see the assistant, the dentist, the light, as if looking up a well. I seen them looking down, and I was slowly falling into the darkness as I could see them saying, reaching in and looking a little bit panicked at each other, and kind of smacking my face, saying, Chris, wake up. And I'm falling farther and farther back and their voices are getting more and more quiet.
Mm.
And I remember thinking to myself, just lift up my head, just lift my head up a little, thinking that, but not being able to speak, not having hands to reach, not having any form to save myself or help myself. A horrible panic.
Mm.
And seeing them go, and I'm thinking, if they fade out of distance, I got no shot here. And I don't know what that is, or what the brain's function is, or spirit. I don't know how any of that works, because I've never been there before.
Mm.
But when I came to, they were lifting my head up. And they were saying, how's that? Is that okay? Is that better?
Mm.
And it sounds really gross, but I've had all this surgery going on, but I'm throwing up because I was having a bad reaction to the gas. Throwing up all over the equipment, all over everything here. And it was a horrible scene. And even as embarrassing as that could have been, I just remember thinking, I'm glad that I was able to articulate that, because maybe that was me checking out.
Mm.
And they were really, really worried. They were taking vitals and things like that, because they didn't do it in like a surgical. They did it it was a extraction doctor. It wasn't in a hospital or anything like that. It was right at their office. And, they had pretty much all the items for a crash cart there. I saw it there. I'm like, wow, I don't think you had to charge or hit me with any, but that's the feeling that I had as the lights were going out, and she's like realizing it slowly, like, wait a minute. Almost like on the film The Others, when Nicole Kidman and them realize that they're dead. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, right? that part of the film really got me terrified, because I'm like, now what? As things got darker and darker and darker, and she's like kind of still talking, and it's just becoming darker and darker and darker. I was like, yikes. And then when they even go the next step, when you realize, when she sees that little light come on, you're like, oh, that's one of those candles. Mm-hmm. And now she's going to be, as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, now that's just the pit of the stomach scary for me now. That became psychological there, and was really scary. I don't even know what the question was. The answer is B.
Kangaroo.
Oh, Kangaroo, that's right.
So anyway, that was my interpretation of this Kangaroo. Maybe I looked too deep into it, but
no, I kind of like it.
Well, KMax, back to you.
All right, let's do fear. Oh, here we are. Mr. Vozly, fear or sadness? Fear or sadness? What did you feel more?
Sadness.
Really?
Why,
a little bit of fear? Initially, because I'm a big coward, fear. Oh, fear. But then I think I told you as we were wrapping up watching it, through tear-soaked eyes, saying this was really sad. I felt sad throughout. And it helped me not be afraid. Because it was just like, okay, this is a movie about grief. This isn't a movie about possession or anything. Those are just all tools. Those are just all vehicles to tell this story of someone hurting really bad.
Right.
And again, what I thought, the destructive ways of improperly dealing with grief, not really dealing with grief, but instead of coping with grief and dealing with it,
right.
How it can lead you down some really, really dark paths. So yeah, sad.
Yeah. I had mentioned that I empathized with our characters because of the movie's theming. I thought the filmmakers and the actress that played Mia did an amazing job displaying how grief can take over someone and consume them with sorrow and a skewed view on life, showing that trying to process grief can feel futile, like the goalposts keep moving on you. Like after a while, the only true cure is ending that suffering, and then suffering becomes synonymous with life. And it is sad that when someone falls into that pit, all the love in the world from family and friends isn't enough to sway them from those thoughts. It reminded me of Sleeping Beauty, when Aurora gets sucked into the trance to go poke herself and fulfill the curse that Maleficent put on her.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that, where nothing you can do can break them out of it. They're stuck there, and they only got one way they're going. You know? So for me, it wasn't fear of being overcome with these spirits or haunted by them. It was the sadness that it doesn't matter how much you could try to help someone and love them. Once they're caught in that grief, it is their own personal journey to climb out of it. Some don't make it out, like Mia and Duckett from the beginning, and maybe even Mia's mom. But if someone is able to be strong enough to pull themselves up or see the escape ropes that your family, friends, faith, and culture are lowering down to you in that pit of grief, you can indeed get out of it. So, KMax, I didn't know if you knew this, but apparently I have a very figurative way of speaking.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you knew that about me. Some things I'm learning about myself.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
It's sadness that there is not a single cure-all for someone experiencing grief, and it's a process to process it. So yeah, for me, it's the sadness that very little you can do for someone that is experiencing that, except just be there, and hopefully they take your assistance.
Man, that's tough. That one hits home with a lot of folks, and that not just in remembering our friend Ralph or anything, but just a lot of folks. I wrote a song years and years ago about the inability to reach, and it was about God and His reaching down to us and us being dead, literally dead and incapable of even reaching. Because you hear like the metaphors of you just, the good Lord throws you a lifeline and you just got to grab hold of it. Well, that speaks to the idea that we're capable of reaching, that we're capable of reaching out and doing anything to grab this help, this escape route. And sometimes when you're hurting in that place, that dark place, best thing someone can do is be there with you, hurting with you, having that hand out to extend, saying I'm here to help and I love you. Sometimes grief takes you to a spot where you're incapable of reaching. You're just paralyzed, and it's just got you. It's almost like what Mia was. She was incapable of seeing. She was incapable of seeing what was really happening. But as a viewer, so was I. I honestly had no idea, and sometimes I was like, "What is happening right now?" When she stabbed her father in the neck, I'm like, "Well, of course she's going to. This is what she sees, and this is what she hears, and this is what she sees."
Well, that's how when I mentioned that the filmmakers and the actress did such a good job of displaying how grief can do that to someone, or they can't even comprehend that they are a danger, and in her perception, she's thinking, I'm being attacked by my own father, and I'm defending myself. When in reality, that's there was no attack, and it looked like you were ODing on the floor, and then you stabbed your father in the neck. There is no other outside of her own mind. There is no debate about what happened in that instance. So that's why I thought they did a really good job of making us feel the same way she did. Where it's, what did I do wrong? I'm just, I was being attacked. I had to do this. Such a like scatterbrain and confusion as to the danger that you've become to yourself and others.
Man, that makes me feel good and bad at the same time, because it makes me feel good that the movie makes more sense, but it makes me feel really bad that I had no idea what was transpiring in that scene, because it feels clear to you that that's exactly what was happening, but to me, I'm just trying to reach back and think, and it wasn't clear. I was still thinking, because there's a terror to be found everywhere, and you could see plot kind of either way there. For me, I was like, I kind of see this maybe happening, and maybe this isn't happening. Then it was consistent that it really wasn't happening. I think they had to show that scene to show why she was considering pushing the kid into the traffic, because she was under such strong delusion, right? That her improper coping with grief had led her to. She was under such a strong delusion that she thought, this is what I have to do. This kid Riley's got to die.
Like, I got to save him. It wasn't even like...
Well, the scene that she saw when she went under, that the demons are all, like, feeding off of him.
That one, I would say that was... I don't want to say it was fear. It was so sad that it was fearful for Riley, I guess. And because if I had to pick a scariest scene, I guess, for me, that would be it. Was when that little girl gives me a glimpse as to what hell that Riley is currently in, and he's just being, I don't know, just held captive by these.
It looked like just almost
people.
Eaten or tormented just by these awful looking creatures.
It
It reminded me of the
of,
scene from Event
Horizon. Yes.
Well, again, a movie I haven't seen, but I heard you and Tin Man describe it so well. That made me think. Put a pin in it, and ask later. Did that harken you back to that scene at all?
That's
it was
exactly
so dark.
What it felt like, yeah.
So dark.
Where it's just, I don't even think I could describe it in
Like
a single
absolute
sentence,
torment.
but like just torment of flesh and psyche.
Like dozens of beings.
Like you're, like just naked flesh being abused and manipulated, and psyche being stripped down and tormented. Like it felt like that. It did feel like Event Horizon. Just that little, what was it, 3 seconds worth?
3 seconds,
you know?
yeah. I was like, ooh, yikes. But that, so, I don't say not clarify, but help me understand it. So that wasn't what was happening to Riley.
It could be. I mean, that one, I don't know.
Yeah. Because, like, it seemed like that was more fuel to say, this is why you have to put him out of his misery.
Right.
That's why it's the only option now. You got to kill him. Because remember when she was just so resolved, like, this is what I have to do now.
And in her mind, it wasn't even like I have to kill him. It was I have to help him.
Yeah.
And there was no thought as to, killing is the way. Is just, that's my only goal, is to help him. And the tool that she's got to do is by killing him.
Yeah.
And so kind of what I mentioned with the kangaroo, like there was no other option in her head. It was, here's how I have to help him. I have to help him by putting him out of his misery. And that's what we get with the kangaroo.
My goodness.
Any other thoughts on fear or sadness?
No, I think we covered it pretty good.
Okay. I'll give you my last one then.
Okay. Here we are.
You're getting very good at that, by the way.
Thank you. It's I'm very snappy, sir. I'm very
DT.
sneaky.
I'm going with cinematic tools. You know I had to.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? You did. Cinematic tools that make us feel the way we did.
Yep. I'm gonna grab you though, and I'm gonna pull you with me.
All right, let's go.
So let's go through the ways the movie makes us feel. In The Ritual, you remember we talked about water and how usually water is used as like a purifying, a wash, a clean slate, like a new rebirth, right?
Tabula rasa.
A what? A who?
Seen it.
So in this movie, how do you think that compares, the use of water?
The use of water in this. Oh, I saw. Gosh. To me, let me think of the times I remember seeing water as Riley was
Now think about our episode on the ritual and what the water did there.
Yeah, the water didn't do what it usually does. It didn't purify or clean. It didn't.
Right.
And then in this one, I remember seeing the water when he was like hitting his head on the tiles, and it was like bleeding into the drain. It was bleeding into the water going down the drain. But I can't remember the context super well.
Okay. So I'm going to throw a word out there. And this would have been the word that I mentioned if we picked the one-word theme.
Okay.
Distortion. So with the water, the water distorts what you see. With the rain, you see especially Jade after they go to the hospital. Her mom is in the car smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Jade's out in the rain. It's the distortion of everything around her that causes that visual turbulence.
Mm-hmm.
And that same turbulence that we mentioned in the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she goes into the car, outside of the car, all you see is rain hitting the window. So these characters' vision at this point is so blurred and distorted by the rain, visually outside. And we see this distortion throughout. So I want you to keep that in mind when I bring up some of these other tools. But yeah, with the water you see in the drain, you think of cleaning, especially in a shower, right? You think of cleansing, and she's literally cleaning him, but turns to blood. So it takes what you usually think of water and sullies it.
I see.
So with distortion, do you recall how else we see distortion throughout the movie?
Well, I always see, again, distortion with me is like it has to do with vision, like how clearly you can see something.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like a cop out, but I would use darkness then, because there's use of darkness a lot to show. I mean, I thought that's the one device that I saw pretty clearly in a couple times of like showing isolation a little bit and like showing like fear, like when you're supposed to be a little bit more added anxiety. It's almost like your lens of clearly seeing reality shrinks, and it becomes replaced by darkness. And you see that at the end for sure, but then you also see it when it shows them. Even like replacing their pupils, like it's all dark. There's no light to their eyes anymore. There's darkness there. You can tell they're not themselves. They're distorted. And then when they're looking around after they get possessed, like, I let you in or whatever, it's their pupils are dark. It's almost like they can't see reality anymore. They're seeing everything distorted now with the dark. That's something I thought.
Okay. How about when for most of the time that Mia's father's on the screen, he's out of focus.
Yeah, he is.
And then when we see this, I don't know if we don't think it's actually Mia's mom, I don't think, but the spirit that's pretending to be her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we see her, how do we see her?
Always distorted behind like a window, like a translucent window, like scratching, like because remember they said she was scratching at the door or something,
and you only see parts of her face, like even at the end, when she's behind Mia, like we only see portions of the face behind her. Still keep that in mind because it's going to show up again when I talk about something else. But let's move on to something like color. What do you notice about color?
Let me think.
If you could give me 3 colors that show up throughout the movie, what would you give me?
Red, pale, and gosh, yeah, everything. There's a lot of muted tones. Like when it's showing anything like in the spiritual realm, kind of, there's a lot of muted, like grays and blues.
Blues. We'll start there.
Okay.
Do you remember where you see Blue?
There's a lot of blue in the hospital.
Hospital, Mia's home,
Yeah.
the school,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the
school,
uniforms.
Yeah.
So Blue, in that sense, seems to be places that she doesn't really get a whole lot of support from, right? A lot of places are void of warmth and support, at least in her perception, right? What about Yellow? So you mentioned pale. I'll
Yeah.
kind of lump that in maybe.
Yeah.
So Mia often wears like this yellowish top. She has it on through most of the movie, and then she wears it underneath other outfits.
Yeah.
But I saw that as like her home base, I guess. Kind of like that. That's what represents her. You know, because you see, kind of see it throughout the movie there if you keep an eye out. And then Pink was the last one. Was the third one that I had. Do you remember where we saw Pink?
I don't.
Now here's a cool one. So we see it. That's the color of Riley and Jade's house on the inside. It's Riley was wearing a pink top in the beginning. Jade was wearing a pink top in the beginning. And you remember how he mentioned the blue was kind of void of support and warmth. After Riley ends up in the hospital, Jade then wears a blue top. Kind of symbolizing like that's her kind of cutting off Mia. You let my brother get hurt this way, and now I've got this barrier now. Right?
Wow.
So how do you see framing in some of the scenes, and what do you think that makes us feel?
Well, I mean, I think whenever you see the mother, you see, like I said, like some kind of translucent window. She's always like near a door or behind a window sill, like a window pane, for a while. You'd see her figure or something because she's, yeah, behind some kind of square, translucent window. Like she's, I don't know what it's saying. Maybe it's like she's trapped somewhere herself, like she can't move forward. I seen some odd framing whenever there was. I always thought it was just to terrify you, just to make it a little bit scared. You see some really dark framing, and you see some things just a little bit out of. Like for instance, when the mom is behind Mia, things are out of frame. It's not. You would think that, well, that's not good cinema. It's not shot square. You can't see this or that. And like the framing is, it's almost like you get a picture and you're trying to highlight a picture, and you know how you can, on your iPhone, you can press where you want it to focus on.
Yeah.
Some of the scenes where the background or the foreground were focused seemed like on purpose, but I couldn't place why.
I think that's good though with the mom, where Mia can't really see the full picture, and she's only getting the parts that she can grasp onto, right? So if she did see the full picture of what the spirit looked like, she may be able to say, "Oh no, that's actually not my mom." But it's the parts that she sees that convinces her that it is her mom.
Yeah, and I think not in defense of Mia, but like right from the word. Remember when Riley first sees, he goes like, "Oh," or something like that when he first sees the spirit. When he says, "Talk to me," and he looks up.
WTF, I think he said.
And remember I said, "Oh boy," because we had already just heard that she had lost, it was the day she lost, the anniversary of when she lost her mother. And I remember you looked at me and you said, "What?" And I said, "Does she see her mom?" You know what I mean? And I think that set Mia on a path of, right from that word, like looking like, remember how like obsessed she was, like with everything else went out the window. She was singularly focused on, I need to keep Riley under. I need a little more time.
Right.
Like it totally threw her over the edge of all of her horrible decisions.
We see there's some scenes in the movie you get literal doorways and hallways. And I know I mentioned in the past I've sent you screenshots of like signs where it showed a doorway separates a couple characters or it frames certain characters, and you see that in this movie too. So if you, I know you said you'll probably never watch the movie again, but I might send you screenshots of like parts where certain characters are within door frames, within hallways, shot from the end of a hallway, seeing someone. So it kind of gives you that sense of things closing in. But you mentioned glass, so I want to make sure we talk about like glass and windows and that sort of thing. Glass, you might recall the home had transparent, basically window walls, right? So transparency that accentuate the feeling that you are watching behind glass. That you can see characters suffering but unable to help. So you might recall in the hospital, Mia's got to watch Riley behind the glass, right? And because there are two sides to windows, you have the other side, feeling of isolation while still being surrounded by people and completely exposed to those around you. So remember in the beginning when Duckett came out and they all have their phones out watching, and Mia, when any of them go through the talk to me thing, like the seance type stuff, they all got their phones out. So you at your most vulnerable is, it plays onto that same idea with the windows of being seen but unable to respond. And then again, from the other side, you have people like Jade, like her mom, I think it's Sue, where you can see someone breaking down, but you can't do anything to help it. So, but that also feeds into the idea of distortion and reflection, and especially empty reflection. So a few times we see the mom in glass, right? Mia's mom, we see like a reflection of her that actually isn't there. In the hospital, in her bedroom, off the mirror we see it. And, in the same way that water distorted some picture, we have, I remember there's one scene where it's like certain textured glass that you see someone behind. You think it's Mia's mom, but it's a distorted silhouette of that spirit or whatever it is. But again, use of glass and window to showcase that. So speaking of being exposed to those around you, I wanted to dive a little bit, just a tad more into like the use of the cell phone then. So the light on the cell phone. And we talked about light in the ritual too, where it's like the spotlight is on you.
Yeah.
We're all watching you to see how you are going to handle this. So you got this exposure. You live in a house with windows for walls. You have your hospital room where you're trying to recover. People are watching you. And now when you're having these intimate moments, seeing if your mom is there or whatever spirit, you got these people recording it, and the light from the phones pointed at you, blinding you, and you got nowhere to hide, and all these people are watching you. And it gives you like a sense of embarrassment or being a sideshow. And to me, it further widens the emotional gap between those processing grief and the people around them. KMax, would you like to add any other thoughts on any of these?
I don't know that I have anything intelligent to add a whole much. We're talking about the tools, correct?
Yeah.
That make us the way we feel, the way we do. I thought, oh goodness, I thought that the lack. I would expect more. I'm not sure it's like a camera shot tool or a sound, like a score type thing, but like I think story element wise, like keeping, like I said, because it wasn't clear to me what was happening, and they use it as a tool that was effective as long as you were able to follow it, right? But I think it's a risky game to play because obviously they lost me because I was unable to follow it. But it was a tool to keep you at this ease on purpose. Like I want to create you to feel. I want you to feel a little bit like Mia. I want you to feel what she's feeling. That's a risky game with me.
Well, I'll ask you this. Maybe I won't ask you, but so I'll remind you.
Riddle me it.
When I talked earlier about being in the pit of grief and friends, family, faith, culture offering escape ropes to get out of this pit, and it's up to the person in grief to use those resources if they can. So with that in mind, how do you see that specific idea in Talk to Me? It's a visual symbol.
Let me think now. The idea that you're isolated and even with everybody around you trying to help you, you're still kind of just lost. You're preoccupied with seeing that. Oh, I feel like I'm close here. I feel like I'm close.
You
here.
are close.
Oh, the hand. The hand, for crying out loud. It forces you to see.
Well, to me, it was this person, again, with no, kind of like how you're feeling. You don't really know what's going on, who you can trust, if you can trust yourself. But here's a hand offering its help to you. You had other hands that you could have seen with your father, your friends, among other things. But instead of being with those people and trying to find comfort with them alone, you took the invite from the hand and you grasped onto that. So much in we talked about escape ropes and lending your hand so that you can help them out of the pit of grief. In this case, it's the wrong hand that she's grabbing for help.
Like, I'll never understand why people do anything like that. So it's so foreign to me. Like, is it the thrill or the unknown, or we feel like this mystical power or whatever? But I'm like, look at this thing, and it was so scary movie of them to say, I want to see if it's real, because you could hear them keep saying, I want to see if it's real. I want to see it. It's BS. They're all skeptical.
Well, that's how we can relate that then to the ritual and some of the other stuff we were talking about how, remember, they questioned if glasses from the ritual was actually feeling the pain he was feeling.
Hurting.
And you kind of see that here, like, all right, you actually see these spirits? Like, are you actually, affected that much? Mm-hmm. So, to me, very similar, just put a different twist on that idea.
Yeah.
For Talk to Me. All right, KMax.
All right, I have.
Well, I think that was 2 each already.
Was it really?
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to know more.
Yeah.
Unless you want to discuss more.
There's one I think we can do pretty quick.
Okay.
I want your single word to describe how the movie presents the theme of grief. I have 2, so you go first, and I have one.
Jackhammer. Merciless.
I didn't ask for your nicknames in college. Jackhammer.
You remember they asked Dwight in the office to describe himself? And he gives like 5 words that are 2-part words.
Jackhammer, did he?
I'm pretty sure he said jackhammer.
Oh my gosh.
Merciless. I forget the others. Well, my word then is distortion.
Okay.
I talked about the kangaroo and how those in the clutches of grief already have a one-sided lens. But we see it throughout the movie in other areas, and literally we see the distortion. The mom, the shape of her, visually distorted by glass and windows and mirrors on multiple occasions to match the distorted memory that Mia has. Distorted faces, like the spirits and Riley's facial injuries. Distorted understanding of how to use the hand. Distorted perceptions of what happened to Mia's mom. Distorted reality. Distorted ideas on how to cope and what it means to end the suffering. You talk about distorted vision, like how we see the kangaroo, and you get it literally in the movie with Riley squishing his eyeball, blurred silhouettes, and again, rain in a similar sense that we discussed in the ritual, subverting the usual association with cleansing or purifying, and instead plays into the visual and even audio disturbances to match the disrupted mental state of our characters. You hear the gurgle of the water from the first spirit that Mia is visited by, and it comes up again throughout the movie. You can kind of hear a slight gurgle. But again, that's the water, right? You're using the water against what you are already the connotation you have with water to begin with, and it's using against you. So that was my one word for how this movie presents grief, and that was distortion.
I like it. Mine was consuming. The grief was just, you could just see it consuming Mia. You could just see it consuming her. Almost scene by scene, she's deteriorating. She's just everything through shame. I thought shame was portrayed really, really interesting in this. Like, she found herself not wanting to be alone, and I felt like it was very much a very platonic. She needed to be close to someone. She was terrified to be alone, and so she wanted to sleep near
and suck on some toes.
Well, that's it. But I think that was a great scene of shame, like grief, and some of the destructive things you can do to try to cope with grief.
Like sucking on toes.
Like, of course, sucking on toes. She wakes up with the boyfriend's foot in her mouth, sucking on those toes. And I just thought to myself, it's a picture of what grief had done to her. And it was systematically taking all of her dignity and self-respect away. It was systematically taking away her dignity of what she could be had she dealt with the grief healthily. And it was no throwaway scene that she ended up sucking on the guy's toes. And kudos for the other sister again for just, she was weirded out by it. Wait, you were sleeping with her? You were what? With the sucking on the toes, like,
just keeps getting worse and worse for Jade.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, and the shame also of the spirit kind of saying she hates the way you touch her. He hates the way you touch him.
You make him soft.
Yeah. Like the shame in that. It's a very personal thing, a very cutting, shameful thing there. So,
well, that ties into what we talked about with the phone too. The making you feel like a sideshow. Yeah.
Well, it's just a huge. I mean, it's funny. Like I said before, the terror of that moment was more terrifying than the supernatural part was. They're all picking on the victim, the kid that's made the bad decision that they all encourage them to make. So it's a nice little cautionary tale also to teenagers and kids. Like, yeah, they're going to encourage you to do this, and they'll say, oh, you won't do this, you won't do it. You're going to do it, you're going to get arrested, and then they're going to be laughing, and now you're the laughing stock. And, yeah, careful out there, kids. You know, people that want you to do those things are not your friends.
Well, KMax, so how do you feel about this movie after our discussion here?
Well, I feel like it makes a lot more sense to me. It feels like it makes a lot more sense to me. I feel also like the filmmakers had a plan. These discussions are very vulnerable to me, no matter what the movie is. It could be Dumbo. When I feel like a filmmaker did some things on purpose to make me feel a certain way, and I don't catch them. I almost feel manipulated, and my defensiveness, my very nature, makes me reject that feeling.
Right. How dare you make me feel?
Yeah. So but right. No one makes me bleed my own blood.
Yeah, right.
And so I think to myself, well, all right, you threw one by me, kid. It won't happen again. But if I use that to say, yeah, but it was trying to create this uneasiness in me, or try to mirror the confusion that the character is going through right now, or making things a little bit ambiguous because they don't know what's really happening. I'm like, all right, I'm just still used to being told and seen in traditional ways that they're uneasy, or they're confused about what's happening right now, instead of not quite breaking the fourth wall, but like just assuming that what they're showing me on the screen or presenting something a certain way is going to make me understand, oh, this is what's happening there, or relate to the character more. I think that part of me might be broken or needs some more sharpening. That lead needs a little more sharpening.
Well, so I'm going to ask you another surprise question here then.
All right, let me eat one more Skittle, a surprise Skittle.
So what does the title Talk to Me mean to you now after we've had this discussion?
I think it's how you really should deal with grief. Just talk to me. Reach out and talk to somebody. Talk to me. Don't use this mechanism and tap into this dark, mysterious, popular, iconic, the latest thing, what everybody's doing. Don't throw yourself into that. Talk to me. Even like the mom there, or even like the dad. Talk to me. Anybody who's hurting or going through grief, like poor Mia was. And I say poor Mia because the things that shaped her in this movie were supernatural. But I think the demons were real, like metaphoric demons that she was dealing with, and not literal demons that she was. The more dangerous ones were the metaphoric ones that were consuming her. And so talk to me means, I think this is my rose-colored glasses thing, is, it's a cautionary tale saying, if you're hurting, like I like what you said with a hand, like a real person's hand reaching out to help you and saying, and I think this is where shout out to psychologists and counselors and good parents and good teachers, good nurses, good citizens saying, I am here, I'll listen. But it requires you to talk to me. You're going to invite this entity in, or you're going to talk. All right. You see what that's leading you. It's leading you to all this yuckiness.
Yeah.
And distorting you and not helping you go forward past your grief. It's pulling you further into grief. So talk to me. So emphasis on the wrong syllable.
So that's pretty much what I got here.
No way.
I said, so talk to me, asking the wrong resources to help your grief. Inviting, another word you said, inviting the wrong assistance, turning to the wrong people. In the movie, it's Mia trying to relive the past, relying on a high to escape, and ending the pain with a final gesture. All the tools to process grief are there, but Mia can't see them. A father, friends, truth, love. It's sad to me that the request of talk to me wasn't directed to the right people around her.
Wow.
So, it's taking the wrong hand that's offered to her.
That's heavy. It's good, though. I mean, almost makes me want to watch it again. Almost.
Let's do it. I got it right. I still got it in the Blu-ray player.
Oh, my goodness me. Look at that. It's Halloween. Happy Halloween.
I guess that's all I got for you for Talk to Me. Any thoughts, closing remarks?
Sure. I can't say I enjoy this style of movie, but the lessons that can come out of a movie like this, and I got to give filmmakers who use maybe this filmmaker, maybe not filmmakers who use this kind of movie with those kind of mediums. I'm not just going to paint them all with a positive brush like I want to paint this particular filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give them their flowers in that if this cautionary tale prevents a kid from making bad choices because of the terror that might await them if they reach to the wrong person, then give them a point. Watch the movie then. If it forces you to turn toward the light and turn toward hope and turn toward the right people to say, talk to me. Or being brave enough to reach out and saying someone, I'm not okay. I need to talk to somebody. Then by all means, I fully endorse this movie. I'll watch it 12 times. I'll watch it with anybody that's hurting. That, if it's going to push them in that direction.
Your very attitude towards this movie kind of speaks to the way that grief can be seen. It's something that's not easy to talk about, and someone that is grieving has to deal with it and use the people around them to help them get some sort of normalcy back or adapt to what their life is after something traumatic. So, your view on the movie, kind of the same way here. You might not like it, but after talking it through and discussing it, maybe we get some lessons on the whole idea of grief and press forward.
Man, talk to me. Talk to me, Goose.
Okay, I will talk to you. Next episode, we're going to watch Midsommar. Have you seen Midsommar?
I've not.
2019, I think. One of the big names in horror right now is, and I know how it's spelled. I feel like I never pronounce it right, but Ari Aster.
Okay.
So he did Hereditary. He did Midsommar. But that name is kind of big in horror right now. And I just talked to someone randomly. We talked about movies. I asked what their favorite movie was. They said Hereditary. And so this filmmaker is pretty well known for in the horror genre. So we're going to try this movie out. We're going to try Midsommar. I've only seen this one once. It was with Tiffy in the theater. Been looking for the challenge of watching this one again, we'll say.
Oh, wow.
And it, just a heads up, I think it challenges a lot of what we have talked about already.
Oh, dear.
So I'm looking forward to at least that part. So until next episode, gives everyone a chance to watch Midsommar before we discuss it.
Midsommar, where can they find it? Do you know?
I believe it's on Max.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Because I remember you mentioning this, and I remember looking at it. I don't like being the only person who hasn't seen a lot of these movies, so talk to us. Talk to me.
Man.
Talk to me.